Let's start with the feet wide and just shoulder rolls. So essentially making a shoulder, a circle at your shoulders. And when we're taking these movements, especially the circular movements where we're trying to create a circle, think about a sticker being on your shoulder, on the short sleeve of my t-shirt, and it's that sticker, so where my hand is at the moment, that's the bit that's drawing the circle. So you're going all the way forwards, all the way up, all the way back and all the way down and round with those shoulders. And then placing the hands on the shoulders, and now we've moved the sticker to the elbow. So trying to bring elbows together at the front, all the way up, all the way back, all the way down. And when you bring the elbows together at the front, hopefully you'll feel some movement in the rib cage maybe shifting back a little bit. When you take those elbows all the way up and all the way back, you might feel the rib cage flaring a little bit. And I really don't mind that. I encourage that, in fact. I want you to get the rib cage, the thoracic spine moving. And then let's take those elbows together at the front, and now let's take them out on a diagonal. So one arm is going up towards where the ceiling and the wall meet, the other one elbow is coming down towards where the floor and the wall meet, and then meeting in the middle again and swapping sides. And you might find that you rotate slightly, it's absolutely fine. It's more of a sensation of creating that diagonal line from elbow to elbow. So it's quite easy to take the lower one too far back actually. Feel like you're stretching this one up. It's a nice stretch underneath that armpit. Good, so that's our first sort of diagonal line, if you like, and then we're making our X shape now by extending the arms up and taking the legs out nice and wide. And then from our first X shape, or our first crosses, noughts and crosses, we're going to go from here with the feet nice and wide. You're going to bring one leg into the middle and come into a really tight ball. Now just want you to hang on to your shin and round your back. So from the side, we're trying to make the back really rounded, come into a nice tight ball and almost take a little jump to get those feet out wide again. And then swap to the other leg. When you swap onto one leg and you're hugging the knee in, bring the leg into the middle that you're standing on. And there, so breathing out here, and big breath in, and a breath out, and a breath in, and a breath out. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to hold it for a long time. I want you to just explore. It feels quite nice to me to really tuck under with my pelvis and stretch out my lower back, and to push my upper back away. And really pull that knee in nice and tight. I missed out my capital X then. So drawing in, explore how much you bend your standing leg. This is, it's the same pretty much every time. You could maybe come up onto the balls of your feet, so really stretch up. And then bend, I'm going to bend my leg a little bit deeper this time. I'm going to do 2 more, up. This time I'm dropping my head down, which just makes it much harder to balance. And we're just exploring. It's not, there's no right or wrong here. Just see how that feels. And it's a slightly odd movement, I will agree. So let's come back to our circular movement, our circles with our hips. Taking hula hoop hips all the way around. Feet are nice and wide, knees are soft, and you're really going for it, trying to get those hips all the way around the inside of that hula hoop and then back the other way. So to the side is relatively easy, to the back is relatively easy. Bring those hips nice and forwards at the front of that hula hoop. Keeping the shoulders fairly still and just separating the rib cage from the hips. Great, then now let's bring the feet and knees together, bending the knees, placing your fingertips on your knees. And we're going to take circles of the knees, so the knees are going around in their hula hoop, and again you're trying to get all the way around. The reason I want your fingertips on your knees is so that you stay at this same height. Watch that the back isn't too rounded, stick your chest out a little bit, and then we're circling around. We're not going to do the ankles today in this particular exercise. So, but when you're doing your knees, when you're taking your knees around to that nice big circle, the biggest circle that you can, you should see quite a strong reaction in the feet. You should be rolling over inside and outside of both feet. Taking the weight will go from the heels through the ball of the feet. Make sure you're going in both directions. Really getting everything beautifully warmed up there. Wonderful. And then we're going to take some capital X again into some squats. And from this position here, I'm sending my hips back, I'm sending my hips quite low, and I'm aiming my elbows towards my knees. But I'm not quite warmed up enough yet. So from the side, I'm there. I can just about touch. I touched that time. But this is the second time I've done this class today. So our goal is to keep the chest up, to keep the knees above the ankles. And I quite like this elbows to the knees because it just keeps the upper back from rounding too much. From the front, we're looking at the knees going over the toes, pushing out sideways, thinking of that weight going into your little toes, stretching everything up. Again, if you wanted to challenge yourself a little bit more, come up onto the balls of the feet. Lower the heels in between. It's quite difficult, makes it much stronger on the balance. And hopefully that's getting a little bit easier now. A lot of work going on in the hip flexors. Hopefully we've warmed them up enough and that you will feel that. Great. Let's take the feet nice and wide now on your yoga mat. If you haven't got a yoga mat, imagine you've got one. So I'm almost as wide as the yoga mat, not quite. And my toes have turned out to the corners. I'm going to bend one knee, keeping the other leg straight, and then swap from side to side. You need to be quite wide with your feet for this one. If you're too narrow, it won't really work. And we're going to think about that diagonal line again. So we're working through the grid patterns of our Noughts and Crosses board. And with one leg straight and the arm resting on that thigh or the hand resting on that thigh for a bit of support, really try and drop the hips down so that you create this wonderful diagonal line from that top hand through the arm, through the shoulder, through the hip to the foot. And then come up, let's go through our capital X there, and then over to the other side. Keeping the top shoulder back a little bit, try not to let it drop forwards, and up into your capital X, and over. Now if you haven't quite got your feet wide enough, or if it's more comfortable, go there, but if you can do the X. If you haven't quite got your feet wide enough, you might end up with a bit of a kink here. So you'll have this angled line. That's where I want those hips to drop down and to have that nice straight line. Up and over. Let's do 3 more. Shoulders, head in line, so the spine is also continuing this straight line. Lost count of how many. I'm going to make this the last one. I think there's another 3. And finishing in our X. Wonderful. Let's bring those feet in a little bit closer, but still wider than your shoulder width apart. Toes slightly turned out. Let's come back to our circle shape now. So you've got your sticker on your hand this time, or you're drawing a paint circle on a wall. You've got the paint in the hand, you're going up and over, down to the floor, you're swapping the paint into the other hand to finish off the circle, to come up to the top. And then over to the side, relax, calming up the other side. So primarily this is a side bend. So stretching the side seam of the body, relax and bend the knees. You don't need to go too low. Swap those arms over, really stretch out to the side. Try and come up underneath that arm on the way up. So over to the side, relax, come up underneath that arm. Will give you a much better stretch. If you don't want to work too hard, then just come up however you like, but if you can, try and think about the side seam. Let's do 2 more. Up and under, and the last one, bending those knees, and there we go. Great, okay, we've done lots of X's and circles so far, crosses and circles. We're looking at our walking pattern, something we've been doing quite a lot in class today, and I want you to think about the timing when we do this. about the timing of the arms. So the arms are going to, if I go sideways, the arms are going to take an equal swing forwards and backwards. And there's a very slight rotation of your upper body as you do that, which is fine. And then I want you to exaggerate your stride. I want you to take a fairly big stride as you do this, and hopefully you've got enough space. So we're going to walk forwards, and as that front foot hits the ground, strikes on the ground, your arm is at its most forward swing, and the other arm is at its most backward swing. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's the timing of it. And then you're swapping, and there's the timing. So it's landing, it's rhythmical, 1, 2, 3, whoops, pull that up. Don't have to count, obviously. So it isn't, I've seen this a couple of times since I've been teaching this, it's not the leg lifted, because then when that leg lowers into the floor, you've already started to move your arms. So it's not there, it's the moment of the leg striking the floor. So this is going forwards, and it's just about the coordination. And then we're going to go backwards, same thing. So, and this is weird, but it's the same principles, exactly the same principles. When that back foot touches the floor, when you transfer your weight, your opposite arm, you won't feel like doing the same arm, your opposite arm will be at its most forward point, and the other arm will be at its the reciprocal position at the back. Sure that makes any sense. The thing with this is you need to, and it's obviously awkward, just turn around, try and stick to going backwards all the time. You need to take a decent stride. Hopefully you can fit four walks in. So 4, oh, now look at that. Now I've done, that's the first, I've done the same arm as leg going backwards. I'll blame it on not concentrating. So, decent stride. So it's opposite to the front leg. This is what makes this slightly awkward. But this is what I'm trying to do, is trying to instill this natural coordination, which this evening I maybe haven't got. So we're there. As that foot strikes the floor, opposite arm swings so that you've got your balance. But actually, in my defence, you may have noticed, you may not, but as soon as I did that, I knew it was wrong. It felt wrong. So you could try, or don't, because it feels really weird. Okay, so here's the movement that I want you to try and do. So there are 4 positions. So you're going to take two steps, 1 forwards and 1 backwards. So leading with the same leg every single time. I'm going to lead with my right leg. So I'm stepping forwards on my right leg. It's a big stride. You need a big stride so that you're definite with which arm is going to come forwards. Then you're going to lift the knee. I'm going to flex my foot today. And then I'm going to take a big stride backwards, and naturally, from what we've just done as well, my arms are going to swing and they're going to change. And then I'm going to take the right leg back, because that's my next leg to step on. I'm going to put it into the floor and come into this nice lunge position. And now I'm creating this wonderful diagonal line from that top hand. In fact, if I go on my right side, I'm going to do this way. So forward step on the right leg, lift the left knee, flex the foot, big step back on the left, lunge with the right foot at the back, come into this beautiful diagonal line. So the right arm is up and my left arm is back, that's just in its natural position. So again, we're leading with the right leg every time. 1 step, 1 knee lift, 1 step, 1 lunge. Step and knee lift, step and lunge. Make sure you do a decent stride, otherwise it's very confusing with the arms. Step and lift and step and lunge. And now hopefully you're feeling that rhythm, that timing. Let's try the other leg. I'm going to face this way again. So I'm leading with my left leg now. So nice wide step, stride out, lift the knee. Stride backwards, that's important. Take that foot to the floor, create that lovely lunge. The knee is above the ankle, that's going to be really important for the next movement. Stride and lift, stride and lunge, stride and lift, and stride and lunge. So the only high arm is that one when you've got the long leg at the back. Because we've exaggerated the leg at the back, we're exaggerating the arm at the front. And lift, there and there, step, lift the right knee, step on the right, and lunge. One more, step, and lift, and step, and lunge. Good job. Okay, we're moving on into a nice flow and a balance. I'm going to do this on my left leg to start with. Just watch me one time through. So we're going to stand on one leg all the way through. You're going to lift the other leg into a knee fold. You're going to take your fingertips to your temples. Hips and shoulders are square to your front. I'm going to turn my upper body towards that knee that's in front. Then I'm going to square my shoulders back up to face forwards. I'm going to swing that leg back, bend my standing knee, put the foot down. Here's that lunge position that we just did. Extend the arms up. So this position should be relatively comfortable after what we've just done. The knee is above the ankle, the arms are up by the ears. We're creating that diagonal line where you've won your game of noughts and crosses on the diagonal. Then we're going to bend that back knee, arms are up by the ears, the chest comes upright. Now we're in the perfect lunge. If you're feeling strong, hover that back knee off of the floor, otherwise both legs are bent equally. Turn the palms, push down, I'm a little bit too close to my wall, push down and then come up into that same leg lifting. We're going to go once more and you're going to join in this time. So standing on one leg, doesn't matter which one. In fact, I'm going to swap sides. So lift the leg that's closest to the camera and then when we turn you'll be able to see what's going on. So lifting the leg closest to the camera, fingertips to temples, tissue box in place, turn your shoulders, looking towards the camera, looking towards the screen. Check your image if you can see yourself, square your shoulders up, your hips haven't moved at all. Swing that leg down, bend your standing leg, pitch forwards, put the back foot, the toes down into the floor, the heel will be up. Extend your arms. Hopefully you're now in a perfect position. Again, if you can see yourself in your screen, check it out, see what's going on. Bend that back knee, drop it down towards the floor if that's available to you, otherwise just bend both knees equally. Beautiful upright body to 90-degree-ish of the legs. The knees, turn the palms down, push your arms down, engage around the armpits and the muscles around your shoulder blades, and then push through into that front foot without touching the floor, like I just did, and come back up into your balance. Let's go again, same side. Fingertips to temples, foot is flexed. That just keeps my leg much stronger. I'm more aware of the position of my leg in space. Facing forwards with those shoulders, straighten the legs, swing it back. It also means I can get that foot past my other leg. Put the foot down and come into this nice lunge. As you look down, you should be able to see down the front of your shin. If your knee is too far forward, you won't be able to see the front of your shin. Extend the arms, hold that there. Should feel quite nice and strong. Bend the back knee. Drop it down to the floor if you're feeling strong. Tuck that pelvis under. Let's take every opportunity to get a little hip flexor stretch. Body is beautifully upright. Arms are up by the ears. Turn the palms, push down, and one more. Come up, through, and we won't do any more of those. We'll do it on the other side. Well done. Good. I'm going to swap this side actually. No. Let's see. Okay, so on the other leg. So lifting the back leg from away from the camera. Fingertips to temples. Flex that foot. Have a nice 90-degree angle with that front leg. Keep your hips absolutely square. Standing leg is straight. You're turning towards that knee. Then face forwards. Swing the leg back as you straighten that leg. Hinge over that standing hip. Put the foot down. Make sure you can see down your shin. Slide the leg back slightly if you need to. Just keep your head exactly where it was. Arms are up by the ears. You created a wonderful diagonal line. Bend that back knee. Try and drop that back knee down to the floor, but if that's too much, you might need to bring it in a little bit if you don't want to bend too low. It's absolutely fine. Get the spine perpendicular to the floor. Turn the palms. Arms are out to the side. We're pushing all the weight through to that front foot. We're lifting that leg in and up. We're strong as an ox. We're going again. Fingertips to temples. Turning the shoulders towards that knee. Hips absolutely square. Shoulders fully rotated as much as possible. Pulling that elbow back. Sweep the leg through. Bend the knee as you hinge at the hip. Easy peasy. Put that foot down. Still easy peasy. Maybe slide the foot back a little bit. Make sure you can see along your shin to your toes, to your ankle. Arms are up in that beautiful diagonal line, creating the straight line, creating our grid pattern. Now when the arms are up, we're creating the vertical lines of your noughts and crosses lines, games, whatever you would call it. Turn the palm, push down, feel like you're lifting up, tuck that pelvis under just a little bit, feeling the stretch at the front of the hips, push down through that front foot, come up nice and strong, woo, to a flex foot, and good job, excellent. Okay, one more one leg standing thing. So we've been thinking about full circles and we've been thinking about capital X's and vertical and horizontal lines as well. Let's think about a capital D, essentially a semicircle. So standing on your weaker leg to start with your feet together, we're going to release the other leg and bring it forwards and just let it hover off the floor. You're going to carry that leg so it's parallel, my toes an inch off the floor. You're going to carry the leg round to the side, hips and shoulders again facing forwards, carry it all the way around to the back. That's your semicircle. It's like we're drawing two capital Ds back to back, but you're only drawing one at a time. Flex the foot to bring it through, make sure there's no shifting, no changing. There's a little bit of friction on the underneath of that foot, that's absolutely fine. This time, for 4 more, in this direction, as you carry the leg round, circle the foot at the ankle, circle the hands at the wrist. When you come through, just flex the hands, pull those fingers all the way up because you have to flex the foot. This time, on your next one, change the direction of your circles. The leg is going in the same direction, but the circles at the foot and the hands are the opposite direction. And it's really weird. It takes your brain a little while to get used to it. 2 more. Now your natural way. So sometimes I find my hands go the same direction. Sometimes they go in opposite directions, flexing through. Last one in this direction. We're going to stay on this leg though. Try and change the direction. The foot's the worst one of that circle. Feels very weird, but it's great for the brain. Leave the leg behind you. Now carry it round. Just let the arms relax. Carry it back round to the front. So now we're going in this direction. Now we're going to take 4 more. Nice and strong on that standing leg if you can. We've only got 4 more sets. Now for these next 4, we're circling. So now in this direction with the leg, it'll be more natural to turn the other way. And there, 3 more, we're nearly there. Try and change direction every time. Oh, so weird. And through. So both legs are straight all the way through. We've only got 2 more. Come on, you can do it. It's my second time through today. My buttock muscles on my standing leg are absolutely screaming at me. They'd really like me to stop, but I'm going to go with it. Carrying it round and hiya. Ooh, okay, give a leg a bit of a shake. Hopefully you stayed with me. If you didn't, when you're practicing this again, if you get around to practicing it again, always try and just do that little bit extra. That goes through that discomfort, because that's what will get you the results. Okay, all on the other leg. So we're starting with our feet together. So we haven't got a big shift over to one side. We're just going to carry the leg round on its own first. Just finding out how that feels in the hip, flexing the foot to come through. Both legs are straight all the way. Now when we've got that leg back to the front, we are circling. Foot at the ankle, hands at the wrists, and then flexing and coming through. Now this time we're carrying the leg in the same direction, but we're trying to change the direction of the circles, which is very difficult. So another thing to think about, 2 more in this direction, is your hips and shoulders staying absolutely square. It's very tempting with this leg especially to turn it out, which will distort your hips. Try and keep it parallel, especially when you're doing the odd version, the odd direction or the unnatural direction for your circles. So going inwards with the foot whilst you're circling the leg outwards is very difficult. Actually not so bad this time. Okay, I'm going to hold that leg at the back. Now we're going to carry it back round again, keeping it nice and low, making sure there's no distortion in your torso. Sweep it through, both legs straight all the way through. Now we're coming round. So we're bringing the leg inwards, or from the back to the front, and so it's natural for the ankle, the toes, to rotate inwards. 3 more. Now we're trying to reverse it. So we're carrying the leg round inwards. I don't know what's going on with my arms actually, my hands. And I'm trying to circle the toes the other way. 2 more, we're nearly there. You have to pitch forwards a little bit when that leg's behind you. So this is the natural way. If you haven't got to think about it too much, that's your natural way. Last one, unnatural way. Try and stand up really nice and straight and tall. Keep going if you can. Full range of movement at the ankle and give the leg a shake. Brilliant. Okay, let's take a nice wide leg stance for our dance stretches. What I call my dance stretches anyway. Feet are nice and wide and toes are facing forwards, they're parallel. The legs are pretty much going to stay, well, they're going to stay facing forwards all the time. But let's think about the lines we make with our arms. So just reaching one arm up. Yeah, I'm going to talk rights and lefts, or actually mirror me. So lifting your left arm up. And then turn your shoulders only towards the right corner, but don't turn your hips. Now lengthen forwards. Keep that arm up by your ear all the way. And as you lengthen forwards, you're going to feel a strong stretch at the back of your right leg in your hamstrings. Now relax your body. Hang on to your lower leg, that lower right leg, and try and take your head towards your knee. You're going to feel an even stronger stretch at the back of that right leg now. And this is all what it's meant to be. Don't worry too much. Now bend your left knee. You should feel the stretch change so that it's now in your right leg inside thigh at the top. And if you can't feel that, take your feet wider, take your feet further apart. Now lift your right arm up to the ceiling. Create a vertical line from that top hand, through your arm, through your shoulder to the floor. Look up at that arm. Push your left knee, your left knee over your little toe. Don't let that knee collapse in. Now come into the middle, bend both knees, relax your head, nod your head, and then roll up through the spine. Woo, unraveling. We're going to do all of that on the other side. Then we're going to try 2 more after we've done that. So, right arm up this time. Everything is square. We're just turning the shoulders and the upper body. Waist and hips stay still. Legs stay still. Lengthen forwards. Try and keep that arm up by the ear. There's a strong stretch at the back of the left thigh and your hamstrings. Now relax your upper body down. Take hold of the lower leg, of that left leg. Take your head towards your knee. Make sure you're breathing. These are strong stretches. And then we're going to bend the right knee. The stretch will change to your inside thigh on that left leg, hopefully. Keep pushing that right knee over towards your little toe. Now lifting the left arm up. Draw a straight vertical line from the hand through the shoulder to the other shoulder down to the floor.
Make sure you're breathing. Bend the knees, relax in the middle, roll up through the spine.
Let's do that one more time each side. Arm up, turn the shoulders, lengthen on the diagonal. Keep the arm up by the ear.
And relax, hold on to that leg, head towards the knee. At least a breath in and a breath out in each position. Bend the other knee. And breathe. Take the arm up to the ceiling, rotate those shoulders round. Bend both knees, relax in the middle, roll up through the spine.
Last one, here we go. Arms are up, shoulders are square. Rotate the shoulders only towards the corner, lengthen forwards. So your spine is in its natural curves,
and then relax down. Hang on to that lower leg. Bend the other knee. Nothing changes apart from the position of the stretch. You might feel it in your back as well, down the side seam of your back. Lift the arm up to the ceiling. Turn your head to look past that hand. Palms facing the side of the room. Relax. And roll up
through the spine. Whew, well done. I'm going to lower monitors. We're going to come down onto the floor on all fours for our next section. In your all fours square box position, hands are underneath the shoulders. Make sure you're spreading your fingers and your thumbs apart. Knees are underneath your hips. We're coming back to thinking about circles. So you're just going to release one knee. Release the knee that's closest to the camera. When I say release, I just mean release the pressure through the kneecap. Notice that the pressure will go more into the hand on that same side, and then circle that knee, a golf ball size circle, about 10 times. Your goal is to keep the rest of your leg really relaxed. So it's just your kneecap. 10 times reasonably fast. You're trying not to lean away from this leg. You're trying not to collapse on that shoulder and then change direction. You're absolutely not picking that foot up off the floor. Let that lower leg hang. Just let it go wherever it's going. It's only joining in with the circle because it's attached. If that makes sense. Put the knee down. Obviously we don't want to detach the knee from the knee downwards, but that's the only reason it's moving. Put the knee down, reset yourself, be in the perfect square box position, release the other knee. Notice that weight going through that hand. A golf ball size circle. If you had a little pen in the end of your knee or a pencil, you'd only be drawing a golf ball size circle. Keeping the back of the head and neck lifted, changing direction. Forget about the lower leg from the knee downwards. So think about the thigh bone just dangling like a pendulum from your hip. When you've done those 10 in each direction, put the knee down. Notice when you put the knee back down, was there a great big shift? Not a great big shift, but a noticeable, a discernible shift back onto all fours. There probably was if you weren't stabilising enough in the centre. Okay, back to your first leg. We're still on circles, but this time you're going to draw a much bigger circle. You're going to draw a football size circle. And again, your leg will get the lower leg will get a bit more involved just because the circle is bigger. Once you've set up, put the opposite hand onto your chest. 10 in each direction if you can, keeping everything else really still. If this is really painful on your wrists up to this point, come down onto your elbows and do the same thing. The goal is to keep your body still. So 10 in each direction. It's a golf ball size circle. So now, look, a football size circle. So now there's a whole load of movement going on in that leg. When you go out to the side, the knee's actually lifting off the floor. You're not drawing the pattern on the mat anymore. Woo, quite hard work. Again, when you reset yourself, when you swap sides, just check in with how much adjustment was going on there. How much did you lean away from that leg? How much did you maybe drop forwards on the shoulders? So get the leg moving first.
Let that lower leg relax. It's quite noisy in here with my foot rolling around on the mat. Opposite hand to chest, making it harder to balance. If you're doing the elbow version, don't worry about this bit. And try, I don't know about you, but I noticed this earlier actually, change direction. On this second side, I'm not really drawing a very good circle. It's sort of going all over the place. Try and make a nice circle. Try and make an even circle. 10 in each direction, and then relax. Well done. So that was our circles in that position. Okay, so let's come down onto our backs in the base position. So to get there, let's have the hands underneath the backs of the knees, and let's round the back and roll all the way down. Just going to bring my notes a little bit closer onto your backs. Now what's really important here for this next exercise is that you think about the back of your body and how much, especially your torso, how much of it is in contact with the mat. So we want to think about the ribs, especially the ribs. So ribs are nice and heavy at the top, collarbone open, shoulder blades equally weighted, and then around the sort of bulk of our ribs, the thoracic spine, we're generally quite heavy. But then down the lower section, where the ribs are at the back, where they're really quite low and very close to your waist, they tend to be slightly lifted off of the floor, and we tend to hold a bit of tension there. So see if you can just let that section of your ribs at the back relax and make contact with the mat as much as possible, but still maintaining your lumbar curve. So the amount of curve that you have in your lower back. Make sure you're in a good neutral. Check the ribs at the front. They should be soft and relaxed. And then we're going to take one arm up to the ceiling. So your palms facing your knees, and then just let the arm, imagine the arm is really heavy. You can't bend it, but it's really heavy. Let it just go back to touch the floor. Don't necessarily bend the arm, and allow your ribs to flare at this stage. So my fingertips are just touching the floor. I haven't flipped at the wrist. I've just let that arm feel really heavy, and it's naturally made my ribs flare a little bit. So it's partly to do with the flexibility in the shoulder, but also this is part of the exercise that I want you to think about. So from here, with the ribs flaring, now I want you to draw the ribs down and connect them at the front of your body to the hips at the front of your body. So I'm really engaging, and I'm also, when I do that, it means I'm pushing more of my ribs at the back into the mat. And it made this arm lift up slightly, and that's exactly what I'm after. Just make that happen a couple of times. Let the ribs flare, draw down, ribs flare, the arms touch the floor, and then draw down. Keep that connection here. And that arm slightly off the floor. So, and then slide the opposite leg away. Keep it on the floor to start with. So we're really now switched on in the centre because we've connected at the front. We're trying to push out the back of our body into the floor, into the mat a little bit, but maintaining our natural curves. Now just hover that straight leg off of the floor. So my calf muscle is just brushing the floor, but otherwise the whole leg is lifted off the floor. Foot is relaxed. My heel is just, I can just touch the back of my heel as well. Hold that there. Lift pelvic floor. Draw those sit bones towards each other a little bit. They won't really happen much, but just activate them, switch that area on. Keep connecting the rib cage to the hips. So we're building our endurance in our lower abdominals, in our whole core actually. Just keeping this all there. And now just open out the arm and the leg in opposite directions to the opposite corners, so that you're creating a diagonal line. It's a shallow diagonal line across your body. And notice how that will make it harder, especially on the leg, not so much with the arm. The arms are quite able to cope with that, and the arm's not as long as the leg. But on the leg, it's going to make your hips want to tilt towards that leg. Really push down on the other side, use the floor, keep the rib cage connected. Your ribs will want to twist as well to accommodate that leg moving out to the side. So seen from above, you've got straight knee, straight other arm, and then this slight diagonal line with the opposite arm and leg. Bring them back into the centre, bend the leg in, arm up to the ceiling and place it down. Let's try all of that on the other side. So just the arm first and then stretch it back. Sorry, don't stretch it back. Take the arm up, imagine it's really heavy. So forget about trying to keep the ribs down. Just let that long lever allow your ribs to flare. And you might not feel it flaring much, but it should flare a little bit if you don't try and hang on to that shoulder. So then draw the ribs down, the front of the body. Draw the ribs, especially on that same side as the arm. Connect the ribs to the hip bone. It's like there's a rod there. This area can't kink until I allow you to relax and then switch it on again. Notice that your arm hopefully will come off the floor, and that it will come off the floor, especially if you're creating tension around the shoulder blade at the back as well. So I'm still actively drawing my shoulder blade down towards my hips at the back. Then extend the opposite leg along the floor, just holding it there. I think we did that first on the other side. I've got slightly confused. And then let's lift that leg slightly off of the floor. So just feel your calf muscle, maybe your heel, just brushing the floor. I'm tempted to lift my chin a little bit here, so I'm just going to tuck my chin in slightly. Now lifting pelvic floors. Think of activating, squeezing the sit bones towards each other, activating around the gluteal fold. You don't need to do much because we're not trying to lift the hips up or anything. We're just sort of switching our awareness on, if you like. Holding that there, keeping the ribs drawn down to meet the hips. You should be feeling like you're working quite hard. Watch that this bent knee doesn't want to loll out to the side. Hips are really level, hip bones level, pelvis level. Now open the arm and the leg out on a diagonal. No turn out in the leg, knee, top of the foot still facing the ceiling, palm still facing the ceiling. No touching the floor with that arm. Keep the ribs drawn down. Keep the hips equally weighted. Push down the side that's in the floor, the bent leg side, push that hip into the floor a little bit. And actually I can feel my other leg lifting up. I need that to hover. So you're creating a diagonal line, you're having to work harder. Just connecting with different muscle fibres as well, which is good. Pelvic floor lifted. Sit bones drawing towards each other, rib cage strongly connecting. We're building our endurance in holding these positions. Make sure you're not holding your breath. I could feel this shoulder just wanting to pop forwards a little bit. I'm going to open my collarbone out. Notice little areas of tension that creep in, especially when it starts to get more difficult. And then bring the arm and the leg back into the centre, bending the knee and placing the arm back in. Well done. Let's move back into our capital X's and circles. So from here, we're going to stretch the legs out nice and wide and open the arms out nice and wide. So we're creating that big capital X that we did when we were standing. This will be your in-breath, and then we're going to draw everything in. So bend the knees, bring the arms in, make a soft fist and just bring your hands to the side of your head, lift your head up, draw your knees in all the way as much as you can, and try and make the smallest ball that you can. And I use my elbows, I push my elbows in to the outsides of my knees, and I'm pushing my knees out a little bit, just to create a little bit of extra tension there, so I can really lift my tailbone off, and I'm trying to get my nose on my knees, and then I'm going to put my head and shoulders down and my feet down and stretch away. Okay, here we go with the breathing. Big breath in. Try and breathe all in through the nose if you can, and a breath out again through the nose, all the way to that tight ball. Breathe out fully, all the way. Hold your breath as you lower head and feet and arms, and then extend out and take that extra big deep breath in. Really fill the lungs and then drawing everything in, breathing out. You might want to breathe out through your mouth if that's more comfortable. Try and really get all of the air out of that tummy, those lungs, and then hold it if you can. Obviously I'm not holding it because I'm talking too much. And then stretch away and take that big breath in. Let's do 2 more. And drawing everything in. Actually, it feels nicer here to breathe out through your mouth on that breath out. And then hold the breath. And stretch away. Really fill the lungs up. Big breath in. And last one. Tightest ball you can. Push the elbows in. Push the knees out a little bit. Get that lower back off of the floor. And hand and relax. Ooh. Quite hard work, that one, even though it doesn't feel, or doesn't seem like it's going to be. Okay, we're going to come back to our capital D shape, or our semicircle. I'm just going to move this way with my body so that hopefully you can see, and we're just going to bend the knees in. So hug your knees in, put your hands on your knees, and just circle your legs. And what I want you to think about as we're doing this, so here we're drawing circles basically. So again, think about your knees. Think about trying to really relax your legs and your thighs as if someone else other than you is circling your knees around. So my hands are active, my arms are quite strong, but I'm trying to relax my thighs and my legs, especially in the hip socket, as much as possible. So it's a sort of passive mobilisation, but it's quite difficult to do that when you're doing it on yourself, if you like. It's a bit like trying to relax the lower leg when we were doing the knee circles on all fours. Okay, from here we're going to take capital D's again. So you're going to take one knee forwards away from your body, so that arm is straightening out. Bring the other knee in. Then we're going to draw our semicircles. They're going away from each other. You end up with opposite knee forwards and backwards, and then bring them together. Then reverse the direction. Push the other knee away, pull one knee in, semicircle. So we're drawing our back-to-back capital Ds. We're drawing them at the same time, rather than one leg at a time as we were doing when we were standing. But they're going in opposite directions. One goes forwards, one goes back, so that you've got this straight line down the middle and then your semicircle round the outside. And again, try not to get too grippy in here, in your hip flexors, in that where the hips bend, where the legs, thighs bending. Try and be strong with your hands and your arms and relax as much as possible. Great, and then the same thing, exact same thing, but with your legs up straight. So if you've got good hamstring length, just straighten your legs up towards the ceiling. I'm going to come sideways again, I think. If you haven't got good hamstring length, or that just feels uncomfortable for you, too grippy in the hip flexors, put one hand on top of the other and put them underneath your pelvis. And then take the legs up to the ceiling. So this should be really quite comfortable because you're a little bit tucked under in your lower back. I'm going to just take my hands away. If that's uncomfortable in your shoulder, then again, don't do it with your hands away. You could maybe put a cushion underneath your butt if that helps. So same thing from here. One leg forwards, one leg back. In fact, let's just take a little scissor action. Forwards and backwards with the legs. And then one leg forwards, one leg back. Draw your semicircle and then bring them together. Swap over. Opposite leg forwards and back. Semicircle in opposite directions and bring them together. Split so you've got your straight line followed by the semicircle. The capital D, back to back. And again, if you can't see that, that doesn't make that much sense. We're here, semicircle, equal amounts. It doesn't need to be a great big semicircle. And relaxing there. Fantastic. Okay, let's open up the front of those hips now by taking a nice straight bridge. So feet quite close to your hips, spine in neutral, feet and knees hip width apart, pushing down through those feet, switching those sit bones on, switching the gluteal fold on, switching on the whole buttocks actually, lifting the hips up as high as you can. So we've been working quite a lot on this recently. Poke your gluteal fold, poke those sit bones, get them really activated so that you can lift those hips up a tiny bit more. Send your knees away over your toes. Really open up those hips and then just come straight back down again. Let's do another 4 of those. Just a straight, plain, straight bridge. So when we say straight, we're not articulating, we're not rolling through each vertebrae. 2 more. Make sure you really push down through the feet, using the floor. That's our last of 5. So if this next set of exercises doesn't suit you and you want to do some peeling bridges, absolutely feel free, listen to your body. But if you can, we're going to make this a little bit harder. We're going to move into some marching bridges. So hips up at the top. You're going to lift one heel and lift the opposite arm up, and then lower the heel and lower your hips back down at the same time, and the arm. So lifting the heel, lifting the arm, lifting the hips, and lowering everything back down. So lifting heel, hips, opposite arm, and straight back down. An alternative to this, if you don't like this, is to stay at the top, lift the heel and the opposite arm, lower it. Lift the heel and the opposite arm and lower it. If you don't feel like coming up and down so much, it makes it harder to come up and down, but we're just alternating sides. When you've had enough of that, have a little break. So if you were continuing with the hips all the way up and all the way down, focus on the leg that's in the floor, the leg that's staying still, not the heel lifting side. That's the one where the strength is coming from. When we move on and make this harder, that's really where you're going to feel the work happening. Hopefully, and I'm feeling it nicely activated around that gluteal fold, hips nice and parallel. Hopefully you're feeling that too. Okay, I'm going to do one more. And lowering. Brilliant. Okay, we're going to add this, make this even harder. So hips all the way up to the top. Lift your camera leg, doesn't matter which side really, but let's lift the camera leg. So lift the heel, then lift it into a knee fold, then extend the leg up towards the ceiling. Then take the opposite arm up. Watch me for the first one. We're going to lower the leg, lower the hips, the whole body in fact, lower the arm towards the floor and lift straight up. Between 5 and 10 on this one side. So now I can really feel that foot that's on the floor, the bent leg, that's where all the work is happening. Between 5 and 10, off you go if you were enjoying the free demonstration and not starting. Otherwise you won't be able to fit your 10 in. So all the work is going on that supporting side, the standing side if you like. It's the leg that's standing out of the floor. The other leg is your moving leg. I have no idea how many I've done, but it's really feeling quite uncomfortable. I'm going to do 2 more. Woo. Last one. And coming down and changing sides. I've got a really annoying zip on these leggings. Okay, it's probably going to come undone each time I do this one. So hips up at the top. Lift the other heel. Lift the leg into a knee fold, extend the leg up towards the ceiling, take the opposite arm up. So the leg doesn't have to be 90 degrees, it does have to be straight, and you do have to have a pointed foot in my classes. So we're lowering the leg, we're lowering the hips, lowering the spine just in that wonderful straight line, arm to the floor, and coming straight back up. All the focus is through that side, that hip, that one side. So much harder now because you're relying on that one side. This is my weaker side for one leg standing, so I'm feeling there's quite a lot of wobbling and adjustment going on. Doesn't feel as strong as the other side, doesn't feel as switched on in the right area because it's my weaker side, and that's fine. I'm going to try and do a couple more. Try and really focus on good technique on your rubbish side. How are the shoulders? How are the hips? Is everything in its correct alignment? Woo. Starting to fatigue. So the difference between working through fatigue where your technique goes out of the window and working just for that couple of extra, really focusing on the technique just to get that training effect and build that strength. I'm going to do 2 more from here. Last one. And just going to hug my knees in a little bit and have a little roll around. So I really felt good work there, but that was probably because it was the second time I've done that class today. Okay, timing wise, time is running away from us as always. I was hoping to do some Garuda big shoulder clocks, but I'm not going to get that done today. In fact, let me just show you very quickly. In fact, let's have a go. Let's just do 2 each side. Follow through with me. Most of you have done this with me before. I haven't got time to explain it too much. Taking the right leg up and over. Arms are out to the side. Legs go over to the left. Let them relax. And come back to the centre. And legs over to the left. This actually feels really nice. A stretch on my buttocks where we just worked. So legs over to the left. This time you're going to roll over onto your left side. You're going to draw that right hand round the clock, all the way around. Look over your left shoulder. Look above, into that, when that hand is above your head, look into the palm of your hand. Let the arm circle first and then everything else will come back to the centre. One more in that direction, rolling over. So if you're doing this class and it's a recorded version, feel free to pause the video here and just do a couple more of these. Try going the other way with your arms. Let's swap over legs. Left leg on top, legs to the left. Notice what happens in your body. This is again another great exercise for trying to relax your body and not use your muscles to place your body. So legs are going to the right. I'm rolling onto my right side. My left hand is tracing a great big circle, looking over my right shoulder to the floor behind me. My left hand is reaching way past my right hand. My left hand is now above my head. I'm looking up at it and I'm letting the arm go first so that I get that wonderful stretch in that left shoulder at the front. One more of those. Legs all the way over to the right. Roll onto that right side. Turn your head, stretch away. Make the biggest circle you can with those fingertips. Keep them on the floor all the way. That last little bit is quite delicious on the stretch on the front of the shoulders. I enjoyed that anyway. Okay, let's go on to your tummies. Into a capital X position, strangely enough. We've got one more capital X, we've got one more circle movement, and then we are done. So, tip of the nose, touching the floor, and then just lift up, keeping the head in line. Open up the legs quite wide, they can be turned out. Push the pubic bone into the mat. Push the hip bones into the mat. Arms are also quite wide. Hopefully, buttocks are suitably fired up, and your upper body is nice and also in a good strong position to be able to easily lift opposite arm and leg off of the floor with absolutely no change in your shoulder girdle or your pelvic girdle. No change in the height of your back, the position of your head, and I really feel like I can switch on at my gluteal fold and lift that whole leg off of the floor. So I'm lifting the leg from the hip, using my buttock muscles, keeping the leg beautifully straight. I'm lifting the arm from the shoulder, but it doesn't feel like my shoulders are coming up around my ears. I'm keeping the arm straight, just the elbow slightly soft. And all the while building the endurance in that upper body, back of the head and neck, to hold in that beautiful, perfect position of the back of the head and neck, building those deep neck flexors without tension. Finish on your unnatural side, opposite side, have a little collapse, come up onto all fours. So that was our last capital X of class, and here are our last set of circles. So spine circles. It would be rude not to finish class without doing this. Just feels so right. But actually, if you fancy doing something different, then please carry on. Listen to your body. So I'm doing vertical circles, taking my ribs round to the side, down to the other side, and then up both directions. And then I'm going to take some horizontal circles. So this is all about stressing the wrists, the hands, the shoulders, keeping the torso parallel to the floor. Knees, shins are all getting a bit of a workout as well. I'm going to curl the toes under. I'm going to straighten my legs. At this point for me, in my body, this is where I think, oh, I could really do with a calf stretch now. So I'm going to bend one knee. Push my heel down into the floor to stretch the calf. Gently just swap from side to side. You might want to take some bear walks here. Keeping those legs straight. You might want to walk backwards. Actually, I just realised that's that same coordination that we were trying to do earlier. And then if you can, keep the hands where they are. Keep the legs straight if you can. Walk the feet to the hands. You can bend the knees, that's absolutely no problem at all. Try and get those big toes touching your wrists. Relax your head and then roll up through the spine. Am I going to be out of shot? Almost. Thank you so much for joining me for our game of Noughts and Crosses. I hope to see you again next week, live at 5.